afternoon, everyone. I'm Rashawn Garnett, and welcome to this edition of Critically Conscious. Last week, we discussed Deciphering the Cycle, an in-depth analysis of Flying Lotus's video, Until the Quiet Comes. This week, we will discuss The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson's chapter 3 through 6. So let's go ahead and get started, ladies. How we drifted away from the truth. Who wants to get us started?
Actually, I'll start, Sean. When reading this chapter, there were two major things that stood out to me. One is that we as African Americans, we don't receive credit for the things that we do. Why is it that our contributions to science, medicine, history, mathematics, everything is unaccredited? Also, the mind control. It's crazy that what we was taught as African Americans back in the day, that we were inferior to our white counterparts, is so prominent today.
Yeah, Leah, I agree with you. If you teach a child that the people that look like him have not contributed to human society or human progress, then they will internalize that, and in turn, they will think that they have nothing to add to human progress.
Right on, for sure. You know, if you teach a child negatively, he will only grow in a negative light. But with that concept in mind, let's move on to education under outside control, and education, in other words, under the control of the oppressor.
Well, Sean, when we talk about education under outside control, we're not saying that whites are incapable of teaching our young black children. What we're saying is under the circumstances, it's a little bit impossible, because you have to look at things like race hate, tradition, segregation, and terrorism.
Right.
So as a child, or even as an adult, when you are being taught by someone who has the same face as you, it kind of makes it easier to understand versus someone from another. Thank you. Carter G. Woodson would also argue that it is merely the ancient idea of calling upon the inferior to carry out the ideas of the superior, to express it in a post-classic language, as did Jesse O. Thomas. The Negroes did the cooling and the whites did the operating. So, in essence, what we're talking about is when our African Americans are being educated with our white counterparts, they believe that we're on the same level, so then unknowingly they begin to oppress their own people.
That's true.
That is true. I agree with you, Dominique. Also, Carter G. Woodson would argue that if a white educator never touched the life of a Negro, how is it possible that he can teach the Negro to be successful? And this is still relevant today, and this is a form of institutionalized discrimination. In addition, if white educators would take the time to truly understand African Americans, they could serve them better than the white educators who are not concerned with the African Americans' ideologies.
Completely agree.
Right on. And yeah, if they understood and took the time to take the same amount of care of studying black history and black things, and it would certainly benefit those that they are teaching, and at the same time, that those Negroes who have already been miseducated work on and learning the truth about their people. They will also do their people a great service. But we're going to move on to the failure to learn to make a living, and that deals with black business, which is an important topic in our community, and I believe, Aaliyah, you're going to tackle that one.
Definitely. We as African Americans, we're great people. We're not failures, but we do fail to support each other. Why is it if we hear our brother or sister saying that they're about to start their own business or be some type of entrepreneur or trailblazer, we automatically think of, them failing? Why is it that we take pride in failing as well? Oh, Tommy or Jimmy, his business is no longer relevant. Why is it? Why can't we contribute and patronize one another instead of speaking ill about one another? Carter G. Woodson did bring up a powerful quote here on page 34 that I would love to share. If the highly educated Negro would forget most of the untried theories taught to him in school, if he could see through the propaganda which has been instilled into his mind under the pretext of education, if he would fall in love with his own people and begin to sacrifice for their uplift, if the highly educated Negro would do these things, he could solve some of the problems now confronting the race today. And that's exactly what I was speaking about.
Yes, that is definitely true.
Absolutely, and it starts with education. We have to learn to amass our own schools. When we build our own schools, we can undo our own miseducation, and we can build up from the generation on out. But we're going to continue on with our topic about business, and we're going to cover a little bit about churches. And so who's going to take on that one?
I'll do that one. This had to be the most interesting portion for me because Woodson shows us how Black communities thrive off of churches. Black churches are one of the most beneficial businesses, if not the most, out of all businesses to survive in Black communities. But a brilliant thing that Woodson does is he shows how Black preachers adopt a lot of their religious teachings from white Protestants, Methodists and Baptists. So essentially what happens is there seems to be a separation between the masses.
I like what you said, Khadijah, but there's a quote that I want to read to you guys real quick, and it says, "Negroes have not influenced the system at all in America. In business, the lack of capital, credit, and experience has prevented large undertakings to accumulate the wealth necessary for the ease and comfort essential to higher culture." And my question is to you is like, why is it that Black businesses always want to thrive into clothing or restaurants or, you know, mom and pop shops? Why is that we cannot go out and branch off into high demand and thriving businesses like a supermarket or, you know, an airline or even a car dealership? Why do we always stay in the mind of branching off, staying within the Black community, not
Exactly.
branching out?
Right. And, you know, and that's a big thing. We have to learn as a people to come into building materials that other people need, you know, producing the fabric that makes a shirt, producing the rubber that makes tires, and that will in turn help us keep the money inside of our communities as well. The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson is a pretty old book, but it's still relevant today, and that's kind of bitter. But you know, it's a good read, and it goes way beyond chapters 3 and 6. So I encourage anyone to pick up this book right here and try to enlighten yourself on the miseducation. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. I want to thank everyone who helped in this production, and we'll see you next time. This is my yacht. Keep it true and stay balanced.
Bye.